Passage for today comes out of 1 Peter chapter 1 in our series, The New Normal. I want to read 3 verses over you. It says this: "So prepare your minds for action and exercise self-control. Put all your hope in the gracious salvation that will come to you when Jesus Christ is revealed to the world. So you must live as God's obedient children. Don't slip back into your old ways of living to satisfy your own desires. You didn't know any better then, but now you must be holy in everything you do, just as God who chose you is holy." Before I give you the title for this message, I just want to remind you that this is something that we do together. And I am still holding the band hostage on stage for the near future until we get this down. This is something we do together. The title of the message for today is This Time. This time. Say it to yourself under your mask. This time. And then you can have a seat. You can have a seat. So as we're entering this series, the new normal, I think it is so important that we understand that there was an old normal, and we don't want the old normal to be like the new normal. There are parts of the old normal that can come into the new normal, but there are other parts of the old normal that need to firmly stay in the old normal. They need to be left behind. And I was listening to a leadership podcast this week, and there was an interview, not my own, just to be clear. I'm not that narcissistic too in third person, quote, my leadership podcast. But I was listening to a different leadership podcast this week, and as the interview was taking place, they were discussing about how the world has to change. And the point that they were talking about was saying during quarantine, during shelter in place, people learned new behaviors. And the world doesn't change because people have new ideas or new hopes. The world always changes when people learn new behaviors. And as we were stuck at home for weeks and months, the whole world learned new behaviors. And as a result, the world has to change. It will automatically be different with the new behaviors that we learned, with the things that are distinct. And within that mindset, that's why we wanted to do this series titled The New Normal. Because we want to make sure in your lives, and I know you want to make sure in your life, that the new normal is something that you want. That as things are coming back and as life is kind of reopening as a whole and you're falling into new patterns and new behaviors and new thoughts, that it's what you want it to be. And the truth is that anytime something ends, you have an opportunity to establish a new normal. Anytime a job ends, anytime a relationship ends, and anytime anything ends in your life, there is this distinct opportunity presented within that moment to say, I can create a new normal. And the unique thing is that maybe for the first time in human history, we're all able to do it at once. We are all now, at this point in time, adjusting to a new reality. We're adjusting to a new way of living. And I want the new reality, I want the new way of living to be healthy. I want the new reality to be something that is alive. I want the new reality, the new normal, to be something that is focused on God. And this passage that we were looking at tonight, Peter, very early on, he identifies this in verse 14. He says, don't slip back. Don't slip back to your old way of living. Because there's things that you're going to do that you're not going to intentionally do. That was the old you, and you meant it to stay the old you, and then all of a sudden you're doing it. You're like, I didn't want to do that again. That was the old me. I didn't want that to be the new me. That was the old normal. I didn't want that to be the new normal. Like the new normal, I was gonna go to bed at 10 and wake up at 5 and be productive, and then all of a sudden you like just look and it's 2:30 and there's Doritos all over your stomach, and you're like, how did I get here? I slipped. Just me? Man, I thought we were honest as a church. I thought we were transparent as a church. It is say like it is easy to slip back, right? Can we acknowledge that? It's easy to slip back. It's easy. Okay. It's easy to slip back. This is where you guys are held hostage together. Right, band, this side, there we go. It's easy to slip back. It's easy to not realize the thing that I didn't want to become, I have now become. I love these, I don't know if you guys have watched these. I don't even know what insurance company it's for. There's an insurance company that they have these commercials. Don't inform me. I don't care who it is, okay? But they're like, when you buy a home that you turn into your parents. Have you seen these? Oh, they're like the joy of my heart. Like, I don't skip through commercials anymore because I'm waiting for, and like one of them, there's a guy, he's working under the sink and he's plumbing, and like the dad standing over it, and the like kind of narrator goes, now, you don't have to be his assistant, you hired him. I was like, oh man, how often we do that. And to go with it, that like how easy it is to turn into the models of living that we have seen before us. And where the old normal was inherited, where the old way that you lived, you based off of what was given to you or what was put in front of you or what your parents showed you, healthy or unhealthy. The new normal must be designed. Where our old way of life, we just kind of fell into it. This new way of life, we have to be intentional about it. And if we're going to be intentional about it, we can't slip back. We can't unintentionally fall back into what is unhealthy. We can't unintentionally just slip back into what shouldn't be there. This is what we talked about last week. We talked about the things that have to stay in the grave. The things that have to be left behind. That if God is going to resurrect our lives, some things come out and some things stay back. And I don't need to re-preach that whole message to you today. Correct? I don't need to re-preach that whole message, the whole message to you today, right? Right, the whole. But I do need to let you know that like in Deuteronomy 17, that God warns the Israelites, says, don't have a king or your king will be just like Pharaoh and you'll start living exactly like the slavery that you just left from. We see that, right? Like it just says like, hey, you're gonna slip back. I don't need to re-preach the whole message, but I do need to let you know that like in Ezra 4, how the prophet says, if you live in wickedness long enough, your wickedness will be normalized and righteousness will feel abnormal to you, but wickedness will feel normal. Oh man, if that isn't a word for this evening, my goodness. He says, if you live in wickedness long enough, righteousness will feel strange. Righteousness will feel like putting on someone else's clothes because you're all comfortable in the selfishness and wickedness that you're living in right now. So he goes, so don't do it long enough, okay? But I don't need to re-preach that whole thing, right? But I do need to let you know that like in 1 Samuel chapter 12, when Samuel, who's been the leader of the nation of Israel, when he gives his farewell address, he says this, he says, you have certainly done wrong. Don't you like that for a farewell address? You have certainly blown it. It's a great start. You have certainly done wrong, but make sure now, oh, those are powerful words. Make sure now that you worship the Lord with all your heart and don't turn your back on him. He says you blew it, but you've got an opportunity now. The old normal was rough, but the new normal doesn't have to be the same as the old normal. And there may be people around you who tell you that it has to be the same, but it doesn't have to be the same. And Samuel says to all of them, what I am telling to you now in this moment, he says, make sure now. Like, let's make sure now. Let's be certain. And if we're not clear on what the new normal needs to be, we're going to inherently fall back into the old normal. And then the new normal will just be a newer version of the old normal. And life will be the same over and over again. And your marriage and your relationships and your parenting and your career and your friendships will be the same over and over again. And you'll have different intentions and different desires, but the same life. And so he says, make sure now. And the two words that have just kind of been like etched in my heart and going over and over in my head throughout this season has been this time. This time. What can happen this time? Not last time. Not the future time. What can happen this time? Right now. And we live our life in regret over what didn't occur before. But to go, no. These are powerful words. These are words of hope. This time. God's doing something this time. If there wasn't a pandemic, I would say turn to 10 people around you and tell them this time. Just mutter it silently under your breath to yourself in as much enthusiasm but quietness as you can possibly muster in this moment, just for fun. This time. Like God's doing it. That was creepy for some of you. We'll keep going. This time, okay? God's doing something this time, this moment, this time, not last time. The prophet Jonah, if you're unaware, God calls him and tells him, I want you to go to the city of Nineveh. And Jonah goes, no, I'm going to go the other way. And I know I'm going to walk into the deep, dark shadows and you're not going to be able to see me. But that's exactly what Jonah attempts to do. He goes, no, I'm going to stay as far away from that as I possibly can. And then the ship wrecks and the fish swallows him and all these other things. He gets spit up on the sea. But then these two words come within Scripture. This is what it says in Jonah. It says, but this time, Jonah obeyed the Lord's command and went to Nineveh. You go, well, he blew it. No, but he had a this time. He had a this time. You have a this time, okay? You have a this time. The life you have lived does not have to be the life that you are living. The things that you have done do not have to be the things that you are doing. The way that you thought does not have to be the way that you think. There's something that God is doing in this time. In the book of Luke, Luke recounts this time in which the disciples are out at sea and they've been fishing. And they were fishermen, so they're kind of good at it. And it says that Jesus walks along the seashore and says, you should throw your nets on the other side of the boat. Jesus is a rabbi. He's a religious leader, and he's telling the fishermen how to fish. That's like me coming into your job and telling you how to engineer. I don't even know what that looks like. You wouldn't accept it. You say, Pastor, could you pray for me? And then be on your way, because you're of no help here. Jesus walks on the seashore and goes, hey, fishermen, this is how you should fish. And they kind of look at him and are like, oh, okay. But then these words come in Luke chapter 5. It says, Master, Simon replied, we worked hard all last night and didn't catch a thing. But if you say so, I'll let the nets down again. And this time, their nets were so full of fish, they began to tear. They didn't quit when it didn't work. They kept moving. They didn't stop because they struggled. They kept moving. Jonah could have been done, but God, in his graciousness, granted him a this time. The fishermen could have been finished, but they had the resolve. They had the hope. They had the faith to throw their nets over again, and something new happened this time. I believe that there's someone who is hearing this message and you don't feel like your life is going to be any different because you're stuck in the regrets of what was. And you have no hope for your future. You have no belief in your future because the story that you are telling yourself is the way that you blew it. And you may have ran the other way from God. You may have caught nothing. You may have tried over and over and over again and saw no accomplishment from your work, saw no significance from your work. But I believe that the word that God gave to me is the word that he's given to you, and to say, it's not about what happened last time. You may have blown it last time. And it's not even about what's happening years and years ahead. Because it's not about our excitement for the future that makes us believe in what God is doing in the moment. You may be afraid of the future. That's fine. God's not asking you to live in the future. He's asking you to live in this time, in this moment. This time, God is working. In this time, God is doing something significant. Not just in the world, in you. In your life, in your relationships, in your sphere of influence, God is doing something this time. And my resolve is to go, if God is in it, then I'm going to be excited about it. If God is here in this moment, then I'm going to be grateful for it because I believe that God is doing something this time. I believe that God is doing something in this moment, in this season. Oh, Ironton, I hope you're alive. We're coming alive here in Beaver Creek. I hope you're alive online. See, the thing that is cultivating in my heart is the understanding. Now, just to tell you, that wasn't like a one-time thing. Don't die on me now, okay? I can tell that was a one-time thing. But the thing that is cultivating in my heart in this moment is this desire for gratitude. This need, not just hope, but this need to be grateful. Because God has given me a this time. And when I hear people tell stories of their lives, and they're struggling, and life is difficult, and they're down, and it's hard, and they feel the weight of the world on their shoulders, they always speak about what happened last time. They always speak about what was missed, or what was lost, or what was taken from them. And they go, would you rather it be over because it didn't go how you wanted? Like, would you rather just to be done? Because all things considered, if you just had this time, and if that's all you had before you was this moment and this thing that God was doing, I think you would be grateful for it. I think you would be excited about it. And what God is teaching me in these moments is that gratitude is a gateway virtue. Gratitude opens the door to all sorts of different things in our lives. Gratitude opens the door to God working in my life and God refining me, because God never refines me in the past or the future. He refines me in the present. And when I'm grateful for this moment, I open myself up to God working in my life in the now, because that's how he works. When I'm grateful, all of a sudden, I become a pathway to other people knowing Christ. When I'm grateful, when my posture, when my default is gratitude for this time, right here, right now, not what I wish, not what I hope to be, gratitude for this time, all of a sudden, other people see the joy that is in my life and they want it. They see how God is working and they go, I want that. Here's the truth. You are either a pathway to other people finding a Christ, or you are an obstacle to other people finding Christ. You are either the way in which people look at you and they go, I want what they've got and I want to know who they know, or you're the kind of person that they've got to look past you in order to find Jesus. And you know some of those people in your life. You go, I'm a Christian, but I don't Christian like they Christian. I don't know which God they know, but it doesn't seem to be the same God that I know in these moments. You're either a pathway or an obstacle to other people finding Jesus. And if you're grateful, you become the pathway because they go, I want what they've got. I want what they have. When I am grateful, praise becomes my default. Praise becomes my automatic. Here's the difference. Ready? Band, you love this. You love this. I don't care if you love this. You're going to act like you love this because you're ready to no longer be held hostage on stage within there. There we go. That's what we do here at Be Hope Church. Coerce people into reactions. Here we go. See, this is what I love because you're the band, okay? So you lead the praise. But the praise doesn't happen within these 10, 15, sometimes if someone comes up here and extends the song over and over again, 20 some minutes, stuff like that. Like praise happens all over our lives, right? But here's the difference. I'm going to be done with them in a second. I'm going to come to you guys and I'm going to come to you, Ironton, and online, okay? Here's the difference. When I am just grateful, my tendency is to acknowledge what I am grateful for. And I can list them. I can go, I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful for this, and I'm grateful that my kids didn't get out of bed again and try to sneak into my bed, and I'm grateful that I had a peaceful morning. I'm grateful that the work went in on time, and I'm grateful that these things happened. I am grateful for. But as a follower of Christ, I am not just grateful for, I'm grateful to. I don't just list the things that I am thankful for. I understand the things that I am thankful for came from the hand of the one who gave them to me. And so I'm not just grateful for them, I'm grateful to God. And so my gratitude immediately becomes praise. I don't walk around making a gratitude list because I don't need that. Instead of having a gratitude list, I have a praise report. That I come to God and I just have to go, hey, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for this. I am thankful to my God who gave them to me because no matter what it is, he's working in this time, in this season, in this moment. So I had an opportunity last week to sneak down to Ironton. And from Beaver Creek to Ironton, it's the map says it's like a 2.5 hour drive. It's 27 hours. Okay, it is. It feels for Ironton. You are lovely and wonderful, but good golly, that drive feels the same the entire way down. And so we're going down, and it felt like a really long drive. And I got to see all these different things happen, but here, this is my favorite thing, is I got to take my 2 oldest kids. And if you knew, I have 4. Yes, we make bad decisions. But I got to take my 2 oldest kids down to Ironton with us. And so we're going down. I didn't know what they'd think because I had to get up at like 5 in the morning to be able to make it down there. I didn't know how they'd handle the whole day and everything else. And they really wanted to go to Shake Shop, but the Shake Shop's closed on Sundays, just like Chick-fil-A. They're rolling well down in Ironton. And so we had like all these things. And this is the thing that I was so, in all the work and all the driving, this is what was awesome, is I got to have these conversations with my 9-year-old and now my 8-year-old. About church and about why we do this. I gotta share with them on this forever long car ride. Like, hey, isn't it amazing that our church gets to be a part of this? And isn't it amazing that our church gets to reach out to people no matter where they are? And isn't it amazing that our church gets to partner with amazing leaders like Robbie Brown so that he can fulfill the vision and the call that God has put on him? And I got to talk to them about this and start introducing them to members of the Hope team down in Ironton. and explaining the importance of the Hope Team, of those who show up every week to serve and to help the church. And I got to talk to my kids about our posture towards the church and tell them, like, hey, as a family, we are not people who seek to consume from the church. We are people who give back to the church. We are not people who criticize the church. There is a lot to criticize. We understand that. We're not here to criticize. We're here to make it better. We contribute to it. And so talking about, and my 8-year-old, Emmy, she helps with the hospitality and back in the coffee bar, and she goes, well, am I the only member of our family who's on the Hope Team because I'm the only one who shows up early? So I was like, woohoo! Gotta kill that in a hurry. Here we go. But I gotta share with her that, like, church is more, serving is more than just showing up. That serving is understanding that serving is through relationships. And that when we show up, as a family, when we show up to church, we're not simply seeking to see who we know, we're seeking to see who seems left out. We're not simply there to talk to our friends, we're there to be a friend. And in 5 hours of driving, in 54 hours of driving, that was amazing math. I took 27 hours and doubled it and carried the one that quickly in front of all of you. Not just a pastor, double-digit addition. That's right. What's happening? Yeah, thank you. In 54 hours of driving, as we're coming back, my kids are going, so can we join the Hope Team? Can we join the Hope Team? How do we join the Hope Team? How do we go through the Hope Team? And I go, well, you're going to have to go through Ford. We go through Ford. Do kids go through Ford? Like, they do now. You're going to go through Ford because that's what you need to do to be a part of the Hope Team. And this was the, like, in dead time, in nothing time, okay? In drive time, I saw God working. And I've seen God working throughout this entire season. In this time in which it would be easy to go, the church has been delayed, the church has been closed, and go, we have not. God has been working all throughout this time. And last week, when I got to go down to Ironton, I got to meet a man by the name of Brian, who is, Brian, I hope you're there again today, is going through so much right now. And Brian, I want to let you know, I have been praying for you this entire week and what's going on in your lives, and that God would grant you a job and he would move in some other ways through some of the struggles that you described. And I just wanted to know, like, as I went through Brian and I saw everyone at Ironton, I go, God is doing something significant in Ironton in this time. And as we've continued to talk about the future of Fairborn, and to go, man, how God is repositioning the team in Fairborn and pulling new people in and leading them out into a better way. I believe that God is working in Fairborn in this time. Is in the craziness of our country right now. I believe that what we're going to be doing in downtown Dayton through the Immigration Center could not come at a more pivotal time. For us as a church to say we are here to help those. We are here to serve those who others leave aside. That God is doing something in this time. And goodness gracious, and all the others in Beaver Creek. I am thrilled to see your faces. And I believe that God is doing something in this time in our church. And I'm grateful to him. And so I will praise him for that. And so, I mean, man, let's do this. It's been a long time. Let's take 5 seconds wherever you are and give God a great big praise for what he's doing in this moment, in this season, in this time in our lives. Amen. Amen. All right. You can sit down. That's not the last time you're going to stand up. At least I hope so. That can be a new normal for us within this. And so Peter, when he writes this account, he starts with this very first word before he gets to slip back. He says, so prepare. Because if you're not prepared, the new normal will become just like the old normal. And so this is what I want to do right now is I want to walk you through a couple pieces within this and do my best to equip you to be prepared for the new normal. This, if you would take in the original language the definition of this word prepare, it literally means hike up your pants and get ready to run. Oh, I wish they would have put that in there. I wish it would just say, so hike up your pants and get ready to run. But we wouldn't really know what to do. So he says, so prepare. And he says a couple things. Prepare your minds for action. Prepare your minds for action. Let me show you something real quick. I'm going to open this back up. Ready? I had to discuss this out with several of my science friends because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I asked this, I said, I have heard that this is true. Tell me, is this true? That friction is greatest on an object when it's still. That friction is greatest on an object when it's still. And that once it starts moving, that friction is lower. And you can't really tell because this object is very small. But that once it's moving, the friction on the object is less, that the greatest force I have to apply to the object is when it's still. Is that true? And all of my science friends started getting into this like, yes, the coefficient of friction is directly equivalent to this, and I had to stop and like, ooh, I don't care about that. Sorry, I don't care. Don't tell me all that. I just need to know that I'm speaking truth within this, that friction is greatest when the object is still, that once it starts moving, the friction lowers. They said, yes. So I'm not going to lie if I say that in a sermon. No, you're not going to lie. That's very true. And then they used the word coefficient again, and I hung up because I had no more interest in the rest of that. Friction is greatest when the object is still. Prepare your minds for action. Prepare your minds for action. It doesn't say which action, expect action. I believe one of the greatest reasons why we get stuck within our faith is we get paralyzed by not knowing what to do next, and so we do nothing. And Peter says, prepare your minds for action. Be ready to move. A couple years ago, we redid the values of our church to state what we truly believed our identity was. And one of the values we went away from, which was one of the ones we most commonly said, is one of our old values was we believe in taking the next right step. Here was the problem with taking the next right step. You don't always know what the right step is, right? Like you don't always know what the correct thing to do is. And so we changed it. And the new value is simply saying we move forward. We are people of courage. We always seek to take the next step to which God is calling and directing us. We move forward. We're not always positive exactly what's right, but we would rather be moving forward than to be stuck still. The same is true in your life. Friction is greatest when you are still. Start moving, watch God start working. If you're doing nothing, you're not going to see much happen. Start moving, and you can redirect at some point along the way. This is what I know about myself. The more of nothing that I do, the more of nothing I want to do. Like, if I wake up on a Saturday, and I've already watched a movie and played a couple video games with my son, and my wife comes in and asks me to clean something up, it's probably not going to happen. Because the more of nothing that I do, the more of nothing that I want to do. But if I'm already like sweaty and I've gotten a couple things done and she asked me to do, I'm still probably not going to be excited about it. I'll be that honest with you. But it is far more likely to get done because the coefficient, I used the word, of friction on my life is less once I'm already moving. He says, prepare your minds for action. He says, second, exercise self-control. Exercise self-control. I'm not going to stay on this long, but I need you to know this. How easy it is for the thing that we are grateful for, who we are grateful to our God for, the thing that we are grateful for becomes the thing that we worship. How easy it is for the thing that is good in our life to become the new God in our life. And without self-control, we end up worshiping the created instead of the creator. You have good in your life, but it will overtake your life if you don't exercise self-control and understand that it is good in doses. It is good in amounts, not to overwhelm and overtake your life. Exercise self-control. And I love this next piece. Prepare your minds for action, exercise self-control. Put all your hope in the gracious salvation, oh, so important words, that will come. Put all your hope in what will come, not what is, not what's right now, what will come, what is still going to come. I believe that God works in this time, but I believe also at this time our expectations are so high that we don't give God room to work in the moment because we expect him to fix everything in the immediate. And we go, I don't feel great right now, so why should I worship God? No, it will come. That God's working in this time, but he is continuing to work over time. And here's my guess. Is that if your old normal wasn't what you wanted it to be, it's because of one of these three reasons. It's because you either got stuck and the perfect became the enemy of progress in your life. It's because you allowed the created to overtake the creator, or you put too high of expectations on this moment. If your old normal wasn't what you wanted it to be, don't slip back in the new normal. Prepare your mind for action, exercise self-control, and put all your hope in what will come, in what God is continuing to do. And then Peter writes these powerful words. He says, you didn't know any better then. And oh, pay careful attention to the language. You didn't know any better then. But now you must be holy in everything you do. That's not what I expect him to write. You didn't know any better then, but now you know. That's how I want him to finish that saying. You didn't know any better then, but now you know. No, he says you didn't know any better then, but now. There are areas of our life in which we were ignorant, but now, after you've been through what we've all been through, after you've learned from your experiences, as you've gained wisdom from your time, as you've gained perspective from your difficulties. He says you didn't know any better then. But now, you must be holy. But now, this is what you know, okay? This is what you know. This is what I know, what I've learned. Because I've learned, for one, that I don't actually have control of my life. Now, I thought I had control. All I had was the illusion of control. But it's amazing how quickly, when you're told that you have to stay at home with 4 children, all under 10, for months, how quickly you can realize that you don't actually have control. I thought I had control. I didn't have control. I realized I don't have control over my circumstances. I do have control over my growth, over my perspective, and over my attitude. That is what so many things that I thought I had control over, I realized I didn't, and now I know what I actually have control. This is what I know now. I also know now that I have a purpose for my life. You have a purpose for your life, to be holy in everything you do, to be like Christ in everything that you do. And here's the third thing that you know now. The third thing that I hope is different is that God has given you a this time. He's given you a this time. And I don't want one more second of your life to be spent thinking through how things would have played different, how your life would be different now if it would have gone different last time. I don't want you to waste one more moment thinking through, well, if I would have done it this way, or if way in the future, if this turns out this way, then it'll be better. But to go, no, I've got a this time. God is working in this time. I'm going to be grateful for this time. And so my invitation to you this evening is to turn your gratitude list into a praise report. To say, I'm not just grateful for, I'm grateful to the God who gives everything to me. Amen, church? Amen.